need to view yourself as like a worthwhile guy. So what we call this is your identity criterion. We could also call it your entitlement criterion, and we'll run through it very quickly. Essentially, your identity criterion is where your mind looks to reference how much value you have. In other words, the rules that you have to decide whether or not you're allowed to go into state. Now, like a thermometer, it will go up or down depending on your criterion. I want you, okay, think about this, guys. Stop and think about this. Everyone has that thermometer. So if you've got that thermometer of when you allow yourself to be in state, what are the things that are affecting it? Think of it like this. The thermometer that you use to decide whether or not you go into state is actually programmable. You can program that thermometer. Like you can say, I want my thermometer to go up when I put it in water, or I want my thermometer to go up when I put it in dirt or something like that. But instead we'll apply it to like a social context. All right? So some examples are, when we think of people's rules, some of them would be like how they're dressed. You guys know what I mean? You guys ever notice when you're dressed really well, maybe you feel really good? That's because society has programmed you to have a good thermometer, like, clothes, that's been programmed in your thermometer, all right? Think of it this way. One thing that I did, or that I noticed in myself, one quality that I noticed in myself, was that when I was dressed really well, I would do awesome with women because I felt good, but when I was dressed like crap, I wouldn't even approach. Because I'd see the girl I want to talk to, and I'd go, I'd do it later. Right? No, I'm just not dressed good right now. I'm not going to do it. I don't look presentable. I'm not going to do it. What I later did, I had a couple experiences. One was when I had a giant mustard stain across my face. It's a big gloob of mustard that got there somehow. Who knows how? And I went out, had an amazing night. Awesome. Went home and found this gloob of mustard, asked my friend, he goes, it has been there all night. Okay? Right? Another time I had a giant zit. Huge, when you get one of those ingrown hairs over your lip that looks like a cold sore? Oh, yeah. And it can actually get even more grotesque than a cold sore, right? The thing is, I had a big ingrown hair. And guess what? Didn't know I had it. Went out, had a kick-ass night, found out when I got home, asked my buddy, yeah, that's being there, it's nasty. All right? So again, okay? It's a rule, because I didn't know that I wasn't meeting my own rules, I did okay. Incidentally, you want to hear a really nasty story? Sure. I had a girl once that I had moved forward to a restaurant, and I had one of those ingrown hairs, and she fucking picked it off, right, and it bled, because she didn't like it, right? Anyway, it's because she had decided that things were going to be moving forward, and she didn't like it. So there's a little scar there right now, which is a nice little memory of that interesting night. Now, okay, so look, which is a bizarre night in many ways, let me tell you. But all right, so anyway, essentially, these are your rules. So going through them in a more formal level, I have different types of rules that I like to talk about. And you guys might have heard me cover this briefly in Foundations. So one of them is like superficial standards. That's like when you've met the typically unrealistic standards of society, which could include looking good, having a high-status job, making money, or owning nice things. You have that, and you're kind of like, your state thermometer, right? Or your nimbus meter. I just made that up now. How fucking creative is that? Your nimbusometer. That's like going to be like the new popular jargon on the forums now, right? The nimbusometer. Is my like the newbie like is my nimbusometer good? All right. So look, we've all been there. So look, essentially, your state thermometer. It's like you've got the job, you've got the money, the house, whatever it is, so you feel good. All right, and the state goes up. Likewise. The next one I talk about is alliances, which again is my nerd term for friendships and relationships. We call that alliances, which essentially means like when you feel guaranteed acceptance because of the people around you. That can include having attention from girls, high-status friends, or having a girlfriend around, having people that being nice to you in your environment. We'll cover these in more depth in a second. Next, competencies. When you have anything that makes people want something from you. having access to something exclusive, having knowledge or expertise that people want, having entertaining jokes that can engage people for a period of time. Next up, role plays. Like when the circumstances in your life call on you to assume a role. Maybe being in a respected or professional role. Being a teacher in a teacher-student situation. Being surrounded by people of lesser status and fulfilling the role by default. So let's look at some of these criterions. Now, of course, everyone's criterion is different. Someone from South America probably has a very different set of criterions than someone from here. Some bushman out in a tribe maybe thinks how many bones he has in his nose makes him cool and wouldn't respond to that here. So really think about that. All right, now look. Okay, the clothing example. Great example. So, think back a couple years ago. Why don't we say 3 to 4 years to be exact. Think of a day when you got a great new set of clothes. New hair, say you got a new haircut the same day. And you're walking through the mall, and you know that feeling when you're walking through the mall with your brand new, fresh pressed shirt and your brand new haircut, and the girls are checking you out. Everyone had that experience? Yes. Everyone's had it. Every guy could recognize that experience. And what did you say in your head? Damn, this is a tight shirt. This is a great shirt. It's really working for me. This is a great haircut. It's really working for me. You know, I really notice that women just respond better when I'm dressed nice. I just really noticed that, right? Some guys will say, I really noticed that when I hit a certain body fat percentage, it's just that sweet spot where women just start to respond better when I hit that certain body fat percentage. It's like, yo, do you really think that most people know the difference between you at 16% body fat and 13% body fat? Do you really think that? They don't, but you know it. And so the little communications that you have are different. Now, what happens with most guys? They wear the shirt for a little while. They feel good. Women respond to it. After a while, they don't really care about it anymore. And what do they say?
I like your shirt.
Yes, this shirt doesn't work anymore, right? This shirt doesn't have the mojo powers that it once had. Therefore, I will now go and engage in more consumerism and purchase a new shirt. So, think of it even this way. Yeah. If you were to wear the clothes, going back again 3 to 4 years ago, think back to the clothes that you wore 3 or 4 years ago. They may well be as fashionable now as they were then, or maybe they wouldn't, depending on what you're wearing. But let's say that they were. If you were to wear, I want you to picture it, wear those exact same clothes right now, how would you feel? Maybe some of you guys have a similar way of dressing as a couple years ago, but surely there's many of you in this audience who are like, no, that shirt definitely wouldn't work if I wore that now. Why? Because your own sense of style has changed. Your own rules about, when you feel good and what types of clothes you'd be wearing have changed. And so therefore it would no longer work. One thing that I really started doing when I was really working on this stuff, like hardcore, making big strides, was even going out not dressed nice. And in fact, I made certain rules, like I would still approach girls. Like when I was learning how to get my approaches down, that I would still talk to girls, even if my whole setup was not good at all. For example, say I was coming back from the shopping mall, and I have shopping bags on me, and say I'm walking by a club, I remember the first time I did it was in Sydney, and I was walking through some Irish pub area or something like that, and I had my shopping bags on me, and I was dressed like crap, and I just walked into the club, and I did approaches and met girls and got phone numbers, dressed like crap with a bunch of shopping bags in a nightclub. Okay? Looking totally stupid. Right? And still had a good night. I didn't let it get to me. I remember another time I was out in Richmond, and out in near London, and again, down by the Thames River, just out there, dressed like crap, and approach a girl dressed to the nines. And pulled it off. All right? And I said, wow, look at this. It doesn't matter. So, look, I'm not saying that you shouldn't dress well, but hey, maybe you want to consider not dressing as well as you normally dress and just try going out and seeing what happens. And that way you're not dependent on it. I'm not telling you not to be presentable. I would think that's so funny to think like that. But the point is that you should never rely on your clothing. All right? Some people use clothing as like a shelter. Has anyone here ever had a girlfriend who was really infatuated with you, and then she wouldn't dress bad in front of you at the start of the relationship? She had to wear makeup in the daytime and stuff, whatever, stuff like that, right? And it's again, she has that attachment that's there, all right? Or how some girls will not go out to the club unless they've got their hair done, that kind of thing? They will not go. To me, that's the same kind of a thing. And it's fine, you know. I think it's cute. I think it's adorable. I think it's totally adorable. But the point is that me as a man, I'm looking to move past that. All right, I'm not looking to have that be a hindrance.